Employees of IKEA, what are some of the worst family meltdowns you have seen? Dude didn't have a receipt to return a used duvet and foretold no. He threw a fit. Security came and he wouldn't move. Cops came and he finally did. Bud came right back in and laid on the floor screaming, refusing to leave without his money. Bigger cop comes in, not taking any of this guy's shit, and handcuffs him. His screaming intensifies to a loud shriek and he's finally escorted out. This whole ordeal lasts about half hour. I've got tons of these. IKEA customers are fucked. An older gentleman in our baths department ranting about how cheap the furniture is, banging on things, etc. Tried to slam a drawer but it's oft closed on him. Oops, your tantrum was foiled by quality furniture. Obligatory, I don't and have never worked at IKEA. Hell, this story isn't about inside of IKEA, it's about the IKEA car park. A few years back, my wife sent me to IKEA on a Saturday. I mean, we all know that IKEA turns into some real Lord of the Flies type shit on the weekend, because it's like every fucker descends on the place and it's every fucker for themselves. You just know that some poor bastard is going to be piggy and get his brains bashed in by a cheap yet tastefully designed table lamp in a heated argument. And the car park, what can I say? That fucking thing fills up at around 10:30 am and it's like everybody parks there for the entire fucking day. So there are just cars that spend hours and hours cruising around looking for that one free space, even if it means it's so tight that they can't open the doors and have to exit the car from the rear tailgate or by kicking out the rear window. But me, I'm smart. I get there early. I have planned for this trip all week ever since my wife uttered the words, "I need you to go to IKEA on the weekend. Here's the list of things I want." So I get there early and I manage to get everything on the list. It's all there and I have found every item in the storage area and I put it all in my cart. I make it to the checkouts without once having to look menacingly at a single person. But at the car park, that's a different story. I'm busy packing stuff in the car and it's a lot of stuff. My electric screwdriver at home is charged and ready for an afternoon of building flat pack furniture. But still, it's taking some finagling to get all of the stuff into our car. And somebody has noticed that there is a parking space that is about to become free. They are waiting. They've been waiting for 5 minutes. He beeps his horn. Just a little polite beep. I gesture to the boxes that I have still to place in my car. I pack. I shift things around. I curse. He beeps his horn a couple of more times, somehow managing to convey that he is getting somewhat impatient. I smile at him. Gesture to my furniture. I finally have it all loaded. Carefully check that I can close the back of my car. He toots his horn again. I look at him, and he gestures for me to get a move on. I'm less than pleased at his gesturing and impatience. It offends me mightily. I slowly saunter back with my cart to the nearby bay. I walk back over. He toots his horn again. 4 long presses of get a fucking move on. I get in my car and reverse out to the left. His car is behind me. He has to move back a bit, so I get my car fully out. I see him in my rearview mirror gesticulating angrily at me to his wife. He toots his horn again. Fuck this. Where I'm parked is near a junction, and I'm facing towards it. A car slowly comes around the corner at the junction. I sit there in my car, waiting. The car in front of me stops. I gesture for him to take the space. He does. The guy behind me goes absolutely fucking mental, honking his horn. I can see him in my rearview mirror getting out of his car. I roll down my window and give him the internationally recognized sign of fuck you and drive off. Oh karma, you big, curvy, full-breasted and beautiful bitch. Oh, how I love thee. Went to an IKEA as a kid with a friend and his family. He had a little brother, who upon eating one of those heavenly meatballs said it tasted bitter. Mother proceeded to eat one, and said it tasted fine. Kid disagreed, and threw the meatballs one at a time all across the cafeteria before father was able to stop him. Fun times. Obligatory, not an IKEA employee. Was at an IKEA one day getting a dresser. Was walking through the small item section between the showrooms and the warehouse for stuff like plates and such. Saw this guy looking in this bin for shower curtain rods, or maybe just regular curtain rods, can't remember. The bin was empty, but there was a nearby shopping cart with one in it. It was clearly someone's shopping cart that they had left sitting while they went to get something else. The guy took the curtain rod from the cart and was leaving when the guy came back and caught him. The guy refused to give the curtain rod back to the original person and a physical altercation ensued. Yes, two grown men fought over a cheap IKEA curtain rod until security/employees came and broke it up. I was in the Vancouver IKEA and they have a children's play area that was packed. There must have been 100 kids in there, some being watched from outside and some completely unattended. Without warning, the power went out. There were emergency lights, but the play area was still quite dark. The kids all started shrieking and crying and running around in the darkness. The power probably only out for 2 minutes, but the chaos was spectacular. When the lights came back on, it looked like a battleground. Some kids were bruised and bloodied, some had the 1,000-yard stare of a war veteran. There were a few who had bonded together in the tunnels and refused to leave. Some were missing entirely. They must have escaped in the shadows into the well-furnished maze that is IKEA. The meatballs were good too. Overall 10/10, but the bar was set high, and no future visits could compare to that eventful day. It wasn't exactly a meltdown, but I was looking at sheets once in IKEA. A young couple was checking them out as well, and the guy motions towards the black sheets and says, "Honey, what about those ones?" She replies at normal conversational volume, "Not those ones. Sperm stains will really stand out," and everyone around does a double take and develops very bad coughs. I've never seen somebody become so red in public before. Not a family, but relevant I think. I work in the bistro area and I once had a customer scream and threaten a coworker when he was told he couldn't get a cup for water. We only have one cup in the bistro. It cost $1 and is counted as inventory, so we can't give them out for free. When my coworker told the guy this, he flipped out, said IKEA is pure shit and we are operating illegally by not providing him water. We aren't. There's a water fountain to the right. He begins to call my coworker a piece of shit, approaches me and asks for a cup. I tell him the same thing, which only angers him further. Once I point out the water fountain nearby, he says he won't use it because he isn't a peasant and says he'll come back to deal with me and my coworker for trying to profit off his dehydration. Needless to say, I never saw him again, and my coworker and I shared a good laugh. Former Uber driver here. I had a pickup request at an IKEA. For the record, this was after you could specifically request subs was rolled out. So I pulled up to the pickup area in my Prius and there was 2 people, mother and daughter, waiting for me. When I park, I see they have an entire bedroom set. I ask them if they have a second car coming, and she was like, "No, I need you to load it up in your car." So I start folding my seats and she said, "No, my mother needs to come too." I told her I can't do that, I don't have room for everything. That was when she threatened to ML Uber over refusing to help her. Like, bitch, I can take your mom or your furniture, not both. Request and serve, or pay IKEA $50 to deliver it for you. Quit being cheap. It's not my fault you went to IKEA without a car or a game plan for getting it back. I used to work at IKEA and have so many stories from there. I think a memorable one wasn't a family fighting, but it was 2 women fighting over my service. I was helping one customer and it was a super busy weekend, so I'm sure all the employees were pretty busy. As I was helping her, another woman came up and interrupted us. They started arguing, and one of them called the other woman a cow. I'm a cashier. There was a bratty teenager and her mom about to pay for their over $1,000 transaction, and the mom suddenly said, "You know what? This girl here doesn't deserve any of this. Put it all back." I've never seen a teenager completely lose it until that shift. I feel bad for my co-worker who had to do my go-backs. I was waiting with a basket of groceries at the front of a Publix when a woman and her 14-year-old daughter walked out. The daughter was screaming at her mom, calling her every 4-letter word in the book. Mom just stared straight ahead. They passed the off-duty cop acting as security standing next to his patrol vehicle out front. He was not pleased. The cop stopped the girl and told her to knock it off and show her mother some respect. "Fuck you," was her response. Wrong answer. The cop grabbed her wrist and twisted her around face down across the hood of his car. He told her that she was being detained for disorderly conduct. He quickly checked her for weapons and then put her in the back seat. Teen girl was now sobbing. The officer took mom aside and told her that she had a problem. Her daughter was headed for much worse if this continued. He gave her his card and the card for a social worker who could help her get resources to deal with the girl. After a couple minutes talking, he let the girl out of the car and sent her on with her mother. This was 15 years ago and sometimes I wonder how it turned out. Considering mom's inability to correct her daughter, I don't have much hope for them. You have a message from the IKEA man. Like and subscribe to have a good IKEA trip.